Well, yes and no. So we'll take a look. We're live, by the way. Hey, thanks everyone for no one's here yet because it's 8 o'clock in the morning. It takes at least a minute or two for people like, whoa, wait, what? There's people here. We're just something going on. The Canva, well, I'll load it up in a bit, but I didn't prepare anything for it, and I don't have much on my new Canva account for a number of reasons, but so the alert just went out that we're live, so take a couple minutes for people to jump on. But I was impressed with some of the stuff, but I've been using ChatGPT and a few other tools. And at some point I'll show you some of the bulk create stuff and like what I've been doing. I created a separate YouTube channel called Cinema Quiz Quickies, and it's just all YouTube shorts, and it's just 10-15 seconds TV and movie trivia, like cool. What was the name of Jon Snow's sword, or
finding one show that I never got into was Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of really easy ones and whatnot, but I'm doing an experiment, but I can I can create those in minutes.
Yeah.
Like when I say create those, I can create 30 of them or more in minutes, not one. So it becomes very interesting when you start utilizing tools. Thanks everyone for joining us. We got a few people live here. We're just about to jump into it. If you have any questions about tech or stuff we want to talk about, or just want to give us a shout out, just say hi, give us a like, subscribe for wherever you are. That'd be great. We see the comments live here. I've got to get a couple of my documents in order, but we've got a couple of cool things to talk about. And at the end, we're going to do a little test, I guess we're going to call it, with Gamma.
Yeah, we're going to switch things up. So our last thing today that we're going to do is we're going to look at this new generative AI website. You and I have differing opinions, so it's going to be fun for us to go through and see. So stay tuned for that. It'll be fun.
Absolutely. So let's jump into it. Let me just do a transition here so I can cut it. Where's my overlay? Welcome back to Future Tech. With me as always, I don't have my script in front of me, so thanks everyone for joining us. And with me as always is John Irwin. How you doing, John?
Good. How are you? Looking, it's a little bit of snow out there this morning, so we'll see how we fare this morning. So how are you doing?
Yeah, and I'm doing great. And you were at the NGen conference this week?
No, last week. Last week.
I don't know if we talked about it on the last Future Tech, but was there anything cool Future Tech stuff related while I get my shit up here?
Yeah, no. So there was some cool tech. There was one, actually, a hydrogen project using carbon, which was really cool. There was a company called 2 Bytes, I think. Let me double check. I want to get them right because they had some cool AI stuff that they were. No, sorry, Base 2. Jesus, 2 Bytes. Base 2 had some really cool stuff. I did run into. So ISED Canada has these innovation, I guess, consultants where they're helping people identify grants and different things like that, which is really cool. They're not helping with the writing, which is the big part of it, but it's really cool to see that the government's actually taking a step in realizing that there's so many out there that they need consultants or they need people to help navigate that. So ran into Peter McFadden from ISED there. So it was really cool.
And we should be chatting about that too offline. I mentioned something about that a while ago, and there's opportunities there. Anyway, that's great, and we want to jump right into this because we got a lot to talk about, and some stuff is really cool. For example, this first one: physicists discover that time can flow both ways.
Yeah, really
material.
Cool. Yeah. So no, we're not time traveling yet. Yet, I say, but we'll have to see because some of the stuff we've talked about does speak to some potentials. But this article discusses it's a fascinating discovery made by physicists at the Technical University of, I hope I say this right, Darmstadt, regarding the flow of time at the microscopic scale. So for decades, physicists have known that fundamental equations governing motion are symmetrical with respect to time. So meaning motion looks the same whether played forward or backwards. However, at the macro scale, they observed that time moves in one direction due to the second law of thermodynamics, which the second law means that energy naturally disperses or spreads out. It becomes less concentrated and organized and more distributed and disordered over time in a closed thermodynamic system. So materials age and break, but we never see reassembly. So the team sought to probe this deeper using the concept of material time, the internal clock governing molecular motion within substances like glass. So the concept of material time has existed since the 1970s, but has never been directly measured before this experiment. So tracking molecular motions required incredible precision that was really only possible with today's advanced video cameras. So what they did was through an ingenious laser scattering experiment and high-speed video analysis, they were able to track molecular movements and extract a material's rate of material time. So the researchers, what they did was they illuminated a glass sample with a laser and analyzed the pattern of light scattered by jostling molecules. This random bright dark speckle pattern on the sensor conveyed how molecules were moving. Why am I having a trouble with molecules this morning? Moving over time. To their surprise, the movements were found to be reversible with respect to material time. So it's really cool. It confirmed material time accurately captures the irreversible aspect of aging. Only certain movements linked to aging influence it, much like children don't affect a car's motion, if I can give you an example. So the researchers validated this across multiple materials, highlighting it as a fundamental property. So while aging itself can't be reversed, this work overturns assumptions about time's flow at small scales. It kind of leaves scientists with many new questions, as always, to unravel about time's true nature. So, for example, how is material time related to reversibility of physical laws? What clocks tick at different paces in various substances? There's so many questions. So the flow of time itself, really interesting. It's tough to grasp my head around this, but it's always love these new discoveries.
Yeah, this was an interesting one to get your head around, because there's a lot of interesting stuff here. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions and maybe we can frame this a little better for ourselves and other people. What are some of the potential applications or implications of the discovery in the field of physics and engineering?
Yeah, so this is what kind of helped me to understand this a little bit better. So that's a good question. So materials design and engineering. So understanding how molecular motions induce aging at a fundamental level could guide design of more resilient materials by engineering in shields against reversal linked motions. Kind of cool. Again, really far out concept. Nanotechnology. By studying time's behavior at ultra small scales, this may reveal new mechanisms to manipulate and transform energy information at the nanoscale for quantum optoelectric applications. The other thing is time crystals, and we can get into time crystals later because there was a new discovery. I think they created a time crystal that lasted 40 minutes, which was 1,000 times longer than any other time crystal. So understanding how time symmetry emerges from microscopic dynamics could inform ongoing efforts to engineer time crystals. So time measurement, if different materials are intrinsically tuned to track time differently, you can have novel precision timekeeping devices based on material clocks. Thermodynamics, so deeper insights linking reversible microphysics to macroscopic irreversibility could advance basic science by resolving long time paradoxes between reversible foundation and thermodynamic directionality. There's a whole bunch of different things: cosmology, statistics, statistical mechanics, the way material behavior statistically obscures underlying time symmetry. So the applications are also newer, kind of more advanced type of applications, if that makes sense. So it's nothing. It's not. This discovery to me is not related to a simple kind of concept that would make sense more to kind of like people who aren't future tech or who don't understand that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and again, we'll get into some base questions in a minute because I'm more like to always say, okay, what does this mean for
Yeah.
us as humans? Uh, can you explain a little bit more about the concept of material time and it's related to reversibility of physical laws?
Yeah. So um, there's a fascinating connection between the two. At the fundamental microscopic level, the laws of physics are symmetrical. So equations work the same forward and backward in time. But at the macro scale, we see irreversibility governed by the second law of thermodynamics, which says disorder or entropy inevitably increases over time in isolated systems. So as a system evolves, it explores more and more of these possible microstates, continuously increasing disorder. So the work on material time, what it does is it offers a new window into this reversibility, irreversibility separation. And how it does that, it observes reversible molecular motions even within material. So it probes deeper into how and why irreversibility emerges from a more fundamental time symmetric physics. So what it could do is it can help illuminate exactly how and where within these processes the arrow of time takes hold to define kind of our experience and our perception of the irreversible flow of time. So getting into more of stuff that we might understand.
Yeah. All right. So we're talking about moving forward and backward in time, but we're not really talking about that. So like I'm going to ask a question about they talk a lot in this article about a special angle from which you can observe a reversal of motion in material. They don't really call it anything in here, and I'm sure it's not, oh, if you look at it from this other side you can see that it's going backwards in time. There's obviously some sort of special technical technique about it. um do you know is anything about this?
Yeah. So you're right. The article doesn't provide any details about this special angle, but I did some research and I think that what the angle that they are describing is not literally looking at the material from a different physical viewpoint. I think it's referring to the theoretical perspective or framework used to analyze the molecular motions. So what they're doing is they're looking at things through the lens of material time rather than wall clock time. And so what's material time? Material time essentially describes the internal kinetic processes happening within the structure of the material at the microscopic scale. So by studying how molecular configurations, I'm getting better at that word, evolve relative to this material time dimension rather than our ordinary experience of external time, they might be able to gain insights into the underlying dynamical equations governing motion at the very base level, if we talk about it. So it's conceptual rather than a physical angle, if that makes sense. Or maybe not.
Well, it makes sense at a level, but if it's conceptual, then how are they looking at it?
Exactly.
You
I
know,
think, yeah. Well, the way that they're looking at it, I think, is they're analyzing the data from a theoretical angle, if that makes sense. Which I didn't find any more details rather other than that, but yeah.
are the are there any theories or hypotheses about the true nature of time that this discovery could support or challenge?
Yeah, like the concept of material time resonates with the 4D universe where it can be embedded in a higher dimensional space. So we're getting into some crazy stuff here with time behaving differently at different scales. Um, it does challenge static interpretations of like past, present, future as already determined, instead of supporting more dynamical theories where microscopic states continuously influence level processes. Um, it's there's the discovery. It essentially it provides new foundations for dynamic, relationist, emergent, statistical, and quantum process-based theories of time, making it more absolute, fixed, or substantial. But it does shake up assumptions about time's behavior at different scales. So it's kind of shaking up the time world, but also, so it's what this discovery is kind of doing is there's a whole bunch of different concepts out there, as we know, and there's always is. What this is doing is it's verifying some concepts and disproving others, or challenging others, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I guess we got to at some point delve deep into what some of these latest physics discoveries and quantum discoveries mean for our concepts of time. What it's what it means now versus what it means when Einstein did his theories.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so this one really not hurt my brain, but really challenged me to read. But it was really cool. It caught my attention, and I'm really interested to see where this takes us in the future. How this is going to apply to everyday normal life, if it does ever. But at this point, I don't really see that.
Yeah. So I'll ask this question now because you're kind of getting to it. Will this end, the wearing out of things? If we can actually shift material status in time, then, can't this chair be like just brand new, like the day I bought it?
Yeah. Or the brand new car smell all for the rest of your life, right?
Yeah.
Don't think so. Based on what some additional research I did. So this discovery doesn't necessarily mean that the wear and aging of materials will stop or can be reversed. The research only studied short-term microscopic molecular motions within materials. It doesn't really imply macro scale aging processes can be undone over long periods of time. So it is intriguing from a fundamental physics standpoint, but specifically this work, and I'm not saying it can't be done in the future using this research or other research, but the work doesn't provide a way to literally turn back the hands of time and restore aged, worn, or broken materials to their original states, which would be cool. The arrow of time remains pointed towards increasing disorder and entropy. So it's at this time, and you never know. Again, we as science and knowledge advances, we could get to that. But at this time, and based on this specific study, no.
So time and aging is often connected with thermodynamics. Can you explain more about the connection between reversible physical laws and thermodynamics?
So there's a fascinating connection between the reversibility of physical laws and irreversibility in thermodynamics. So at the fundamental level, again, I think I'm repeating myself, but it'll help to connect everything. At the microscopic level, the laws of physics are symmetrical. So equations work the same whether they're forward or backward in time. But when we're talking the macro scale, and remember, we're looking at it from different levels, right? So at the macro scale, irreversibility is governed by the second law of thermodynamics. So what this meant was for a long time, this presented a paradox. How can microscopic reversibility give rise to macroscopic irreversibility? So the work kind of on material time offered a new window into this reversibility, irreversibility separation. What it did was it observed reversible molecular motions even within materials, and it probes deeper into why macroscopic irreversibility emerges from more of a fundamental time symmetric physics. What it could do is it could help illuminate exactly how and where these processes take hold to define our experience and perception. So
Yeah, this is very interesting and at our level theoretical because it's, we take a look at the special angle, we can see what it used to look like
Yeah,
at a point in time, but it's not, it's opening a window on looking at things as time flows forward. But
exactly.
right now you're telling us that it's not really reversible.
No, it doesn't seem to be. But again, very early in the process, in the discovery, in the science. So um, we'll have to see. Who knows? Once they maybe have more discoveries, they'll be able to figure out how to reverse it. But at this point, no.
All right, so let's jump to our next topic.
Another interesting topic.
It's funny, I had the wrong background up for that one. I didn't have the time one up. But let's put the DNA one up here and just give me a second so I can edit for the transition later. Oh, I don't have it anyway. All right. The next topic is DNA. We're hacking DNA to make next gen semiconductor materials.
Yeah, and we'll get into the Let's dive in. So, researchers at Brookhaven National Laboratory, what they've done is they've developed a new method for using DNA to precisely arrange materials at the nanoscale and produce a wide variety of metallic and semiconductor structures. So traditionally, science have programmed DNA strands to self-assemble molecules into targeted patterns, which I think we talked about in another podcast, folding and different things like that. This allows them to essentially build structures from the bottom up. However, they were limited in the types of materials that could be used. So what this team did was they took inspiration from prior work using DNA to organize silica. What they did was they collaborated with experts in material synthesis techniques, and they created what's called a liquid phase and vapor phase infiltration. What this did was the methods allowed precursors to bond to a nanostructure when introduced in liquid or gas form. What happened was, by conducting these processes on the existing DNA arrangements, they could infiltrate the lattices with various metal and semiconductor elements, which is pretty crazy. So what this did was this unified method opens new avenues for advanced manufacturing by strategically designing nanomaterials. It could find applications in next-gen electronics, renewable energy sources, and more futuristic technologies that we might not even know about. So the researchers are now working to translate this technique through their goal is to advance materials research by standardizing their process, essentially. So it's groundbreaking that because this method can work so broadly across different classes of materials, simply by switching the precursor used. So typically they spend years optimizing a process for just one type of material, but they've advanced this, and this discovery is going to help them to scale it a lot quicker.
This is interesting. I have all sorts of questions because most of these articles that we talk about, they talk about really cool scientific stuff, but they don't actually talk about specifically what it's going to do in the future. Like, great, we've got this thing, it can create nanostructures. Great. Like, well, what's the plan? Are we building little, we're going past tiny homes into nano homes and building them?
Yeah, like that movie with Matt Damon.
Yeah. So what's I can't remember the name, but what's the point of this? Like, are we building this stuff so eventually we'll be able to grow electronics this way? Are we
Let's talk about the structure specifically. So although the article doesn't go into specifics about the actual nanostructures being produced, but after doing some research, so the structures are being designed, we're talking nanoscale structures, right? On the order of nanometers. So it's much smaller than the size scale of, say, tissues or organs. So the applications on microelectronics, energy storage, other materials, fields, and what just specifically, it doesn't involve biological functionalities yet. So the DNA is being used solely as a template to precisely arrange other materials like metals, not to encode or carry genetic information, as we talked about before, as people may or may not know. So the DNA nanotechnology, although it's a rapidly advancing field, regenerating, and we can get into this in a second though, regenerating organs from this, and we can talk about that. It's an enormous challenge, and it remains far beyond our capabilities. And if we talk about organs and growing organs and things like that, we can get into stem cells, which is what they're doing right now, which is what they're experimenting on right now, which is really, really cool. But we're talking about inorganic materials, which are intended for semiconductor, optoelectronic, or other devices.
Yeah, and that's why I look at this, and it's what this and what we talked about last time, liquid metal printing. Now we're going to get to our T1000 robots, right?
We definitely could. Well, we already are at the T1000 robot. I don't know if you saw the video of the metal that's behind bars. It's very, very small, and it actually does what the T1000 does. It melts itself down and then reassembles itself.
I will have to take a look at that video, and if we're not going to do a long-term video on it, I'll do a short one for a thing, because that sounds really cool.
Yeah, we can
Because
talk.
now we're talking.
Yeah, we can talk about that in the future.
Because I'm excited when you start abstracting this, because at first high level you're like, okay, what does this mean? What does this mean? Longer term, it could mean that we are really talking about nano electronics.
Yeah.
Potentially, right? We're talking about those chips in our brains, and or your minuscule computers, or computers for everything, because they're so easy and small to make. It's going to be really interesting combining this kind of stuff with, like I said, the liquid metal, and even the carbon nanotube ribbon for energy collection. When you put all of these things together from I can now just have this liquid metal form a structure at a nano level that forms a structure at a macro level, obviously, and have it actually function as something.
Yeah, and honestly, we aren't too far off. So I think we're jumping a Terminator generation from Schwarzenegger's Terminator to the liquid metal one. It seems like we're jumping right to that, but there's if you look at our podcasts and you look at the different technologies and you look to combine those, you could, in theory, develop a self-replicating, self-assembling, fully autonomous. I don't even know what to call it.
Well, not only that, but we talked about a lot of stuff, like how long are we away from Captain America's super serum and a few of these other things, and not that far away.
No, we're not.
And
I can almost guarantee, and we might get taken down for this, but I can almost guarantee that the U.S. government or one of the governments has some experiments that they're doing. And again, we could conspiracy theorist here.
Why wouldn't they be? Like
yeah.
It's funny when you say stuff like this and people say conspiracy theory. You just take a step back. If you were the military, you'd be fooling around with a lot of different stuff just because that's what you do.
Yeah.
Whether it's work, whether you're how far over your head you are, and all that kind of stuff, that's a whole different ballgame. But
the thing that I think about when I think about stuff like this is you look at what is being published and allowed to be published in the public domain, and then you just think about, okay, how much further advanced are they actually? Because they're giving us tidbits, or they're giving us little bits.
Well, we have to take a step back also and just say, you can't audit the Pentagon. There's trillions of dollars in there that just kind of disappear over years.
Yeah.
And they're funding a lot of research. Like, you just know. You'd go back and say, no. Like, we go back the documents that are being released, the men who stare at goats and all the different stuff they were doing 50 years ago, the weather manipulation machines they were talking about in Congress 30 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, the stuff that were not, you know, conspiracies here. They were talking about it, whether they were successful at making it, but on the Congress floor about, you know, their enemies had this stuff. So you have to sit back and say, okay, where are they now?
Exactly.
And to think that they're not at least trying to do this stuff, whether they have any of it working or not, it's just silly. Like, it's just silly to close your eyes and go, nobody's experimenting on anything. No.
Exactly. Yeah. No. And if we're talking about things that might be happening, and this could just be that there's misinformation, but people are talking about how they're building up to a fake alien invasion in the next couple of years. And that's, yeah, we're getting way too off, but yeah, I just saw that. I've just been seeing that lately on my TikTok, which, again, TikTok, you never know.
Well, with the where AI is now, it could happen anytime.
Yeah, especially with the new Chat GPT module that just got released, I think yesterday, where you can do text to video, and the video is super realistic.
I haven't seen that add-on, but there's a lot of them out there, and we're going to talk about a text to presentation tool in a few minutes.
Yeah. No, but you should check it out. It literally got released yesterday.
Cool.
So you might not have heard of it. It might not be GPT. It's through OpenAI, but who knows where it is. But yeah, have a look.
Yeah, I love the AI tools too so much. I want to do a separate thing on just like one AI tool a week or something as we discover new stuff as it comes out, just because it's hard to stay on top of unless you're actually staying on top of it.
Yeah, we can even build it into this, do two articles and one AI tool every week.
While doing an AI tool takes a little bit of time, because I think you can't just say, oh, this is great. You kind of have to go through it, the functionality a little bit. And it's different when we were talking the other day when we went through, I don't know, about 20, and there was 4 of us on, each had 3 or 4 tools to recommend. It's different than, hey, let's show you how you can really use, like, if I wanted to demo Harpa AI, for example, a tool I use all the time, I'm only using 2 or 3 commands in it.
Yeah.
I'd really take at least a half hour to go through and show everybody everything, at least, to get a feel for it.
For sure.
So, that's why we have to take a look and see what that means. But anyway, back to the nano technology here, which is super cool. And again, this always takes me back to, we talk about self-replicating nanorobots. We're talking about self-structuring DNA at a nano level. The replicators on Stargate that end up destroying everything.
Yeah.
That, you know, of all the enemies everywhere, it's this that destroyed the Stargate universe.
Exactly.
And we're building it now. So we talked about, they aren't talking about organs. They're talking about metal structures.
Yeah.
So besides electronics, what kind of medical devices or even external devices would we be creating nano structures for?
Yeah. So some examples for drug and gene delivery. So DNA origami, Jesus, can be programmed to transport agents like drugs, proteins, nucleic acids to specific cell types and tissues. Now, just a sidebar, what this made me think of is there was some research done quite a few years ago where they were using viruses to transport vaccines specifically to cells. So what this means for this, I don't know what the difference is. Obviously, this is using hacked DNA, but the structures could be engineered to release the cargo upon receiving specific biological triggers, which is really cool. The other big thing, and I don't know if you saw this, but cancer targeting. But sidebar again, Russia just announced that they have some sort of vaccine or some sort of something as it relates to cancer. We'll have to find it later. But specifically for this, DNA constructs are being designed to selectively deliver cancer drugs or imaging agents to tumor sites. So they could, by using properties like shape, surface chemistry, they could hone in on specific cancer markers. There could be tissue engineering, so DNA scaffolds could provide biocompatible frameworks to arrange cells and mimic natural extracellular matrices for regenerating tissues and organs. So there's your regeneration there, but again, we'll have to see. And then vaccines. So nanoscale DNA could mimic virus-sized structures to simulate immune responses similar to live vaccines. So the benefit to this is they would be at higher purity and potentially lower cost. And then the last one is medical implants. So we talked about this too, but you could have a DNA robot that assembles themselves into self-powered biocompatible replacement structures like artificial bone or different things like that as the body degrades. So screw reversing time. Let's just put in DNA robots.
So this is the technique where Wolverine gets all his bones coated with adamantium.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, and then there was another, what was the other? I can't remember the other show where someone's limb got cut off, and then the DNA robots completely reassembled it and remade it right away. I can't remember what that was, but
sounds like an altered carbon thing.
Yeah, potentially altered carbon. That was a good show.
The first season was great. The second season was okay.
Yeah, didn't they have a different lead actor in the second season?
Yeah, which is cool. I mean,
yeah. Oh yeah,
I actually really like that concept because you could do so much with it.
Yeah,
it is just too bad that they went a little too big on the second season, which is always a problem.
Yeah, there's a lot of shows that are doing that now, like that True Detective and Fargo. Those are anyways. As we digress.
Well, that's a great idea because, you know, like Stargate, like a lot of these things, Doctor Who, these were vehicles for storytelling vehicles for anything, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And these types of things where you can every season bring in new lead actors that are either with True Detectives or different detectives, but with like Altered Carbon, it's the same person.
Yeah.
And you can really do a lot with that, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, we digress.
Yeah.
This is really interesting. I love the DNA level nanostructure stuff.
Do we want to talk about hacked DNA? Because we talked about it a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
What is hacked DNA? And you know, like every time I hear hacked DNA, I get a little worried.
I know. So in this case, hacked DNA, they're essentially using DNA as a template. So what they're doing is using synthetic DNA strands that are designed and synthesized in the lab to specific sequences and properties needed for self-assembly. So this is commonly done in DNA nanotechnology research. So what they're doing specifically is they are creating non-biological DNA constructs with programmed nucleotide base patterns that allow the strands to fold into targeted geometric configurations via molecular recognition or binding. What this means is the engineered DNA lattices, then what they do is they direct the arrangement of other molecules or materials deposited onto them, but they do not contain full DNA from living or encoded biological functions. So again, hacked DNA could wrongly imply manipulations of genetic code, and that's a whole new ballgame when we're talking CRISPR. But the researchers really are just exploiting the programmable self-folding properties of DNA-like structures to precisely prototype materials in 3D.
Yeah, this sounds like the next generation of 3D printing.
Yeah, essentially. And we did talk about that actually in a previous where we were talking about how they were able to achieve a certain fold or something with I can't remember. We've talked about
and last time we were talking about liquid metal printing, but there was a resolution problem still. Yeah. And this kind of, you know, it's the base. Whatever material you pour on top of it, it deals with. And this kind of sounds like they should work together to get you much more high resolution, because this is building structures at the nano level.
Well, this is they could potentially build it themselves, right? Without.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
But you could just program it. For example, it's whatever it is, you program it with your computer and say, hey, I need a new part, a new cup. I don't know, whatever. I can't think of anything right now because I'm still new metal Starbucks cup for my coffee.
Or we can create Stanleys without lead.
Yeah.
I love the viral campaign that they did, but with the burnt car and
since we're on that, I saw a video where like they were testing everything, and it mug lasted okay among other mugs, but definitely had a reaction to the lead test. It didn't indicate necessarily lead, but none of the others had a reaction, and it did. So it was interesting to see. Just figured I'd try and keep those thoughts together.
For sure.
What were we talking? Oh, building you press a button and then it builds it for you. It dumps the metal on there and it builds it for you. So you wouldn't have all the rough edges. It would be super smooth.
Yeah.
So if you're missing parts, you need a screw, you need a whatever, you could just program it in and off you go. Download the instructions.
I think that's where we're going with this for sure. And we've got, isn't Star Trek that uses replicators? And I know it does it for food, and does it for things. I think we're getting to that.
Yeah, not for a while, but we're getting there. Like the 3D printers are good, but it takes hours to create just a little thing.
Yeah.
And as long as you don't put too much detail on it.
Yeah.
So this is really cool to watch. Is there anything you wanted to add before we jumped on?
No, we talked about a lot. I was going to add the Star Trek replicators thing at the end, but we got into that. So it's going to be cool to see where a lot of this, again, everything that we talk about, for those listening, like we're talking at early discovery phases. And so things that we're talking about today might not come to fruition or even be relevant to the general public for multiple years.
So the next up, we're going to talk about this new, well, not new. It came out last year sometime, but they've updated it recently, significantly, the Gamma app. So is this the future of AI presentations, or is it
Well, so it's cool. So I discovered it a few weeks ago, and I've been using it to put together some pitch decks for two of the companies that I'm a founder of. And so it's an AI-powered presentation builder and a visual communication tool. It was developed by Deepgram. And what it does is it allows users to create professional-looking presentations completely from plain text, which the reason I love this so much is I can put together the content. That's fine. Like, content is easy for me. But when we're talking about putting it into slides and putting in like pictures and stuff, like, Craig, you've seen my presentations that I put together for, and I should use Gamma for this, but that I put together for our master classes. They're just pretty much plain text. So what this does is it helps to generate visual slides with images, charts, diagrams, and other visual elements, right? Like just from text. So under the hood, it uses Deepgram's AI knowledge base and a large language model to understand the contents, keywords, structures, and presentations, just like other LLMs, but it's a generative AI. What it does is it analyzes things like headings, bullet points, paragraphs, and automatically generates the slides based on that. So how they did it is they were trained on millions of existing presentations. So they understand best practices for visual storytelling and communication design. They can select appropriate visual elements, fonts, colors, formatting, everything. So the cool thing about this is it doesn't just generate it. It allows full control and flexibility to customize any element of the generated slides, which is really, really cool. And I know we have, I don't know if you want to play the YouTube video about it, but
it's playing while you're talking.
Oh, okay.
It's been playing this whole time, or it was. It skipped to the next video. I got to go back. Hang on.
Yeah. No. Do you want to?
It was playing the whole time.
Okay. Sorry. I was reading my notes for this one because this is. I wanted to make sure I got this accurate.
That's all right.
But yeah, so this is, yeah, it's exactly what it looks like, and we can go through a quick demo of what it looks like. Now, the cool thing that they just added was the ability to build a website. So maybe we can beta test that on this and show them. But did you want me to present or?
Yeah, go ahead. If you've got something prepared, present away. I've built a couple of decks. I'll stop presenting this screen.
So we're getting into here. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Not yet, but I'm sure it'll come up in a second. Oh, I got to add to stage. There you go.
All right. So see, we have sites here. So if we go to create new, you can generate. So you've got three options. You can import a file, which is great because you can generate from one line prompt in a few seconds, or you can create from notes and outline or existing content, which is really cool. So let's generate. So a technical presentation on time crystals. Let's see what it does, since we talked about time crystals today. So here's the thing too, is you can generate a presentation, you can generate a document, or you can even generate a web page with buttons and different things like that. So let's generate the outline. Let's do 4 cards so that let's do 6. So you generate the outline. So introduction to time crystals, definition. So then we go, oh, sorry, there we go. Oh, it was hiding my button. So now we pick a theme. I like this one. This is kind of cool. And we click on generate. Introduction to time crystals. So it's pulled information from the web, and it's laid it out for 6 slides for us, and we can do a quick tour too if you want. But so here we go. Introduction to time crystals. It's pulled in some sort of, or generated some sort of image. So time crystals are a new, unique set of state matter that breaks the symmetry of time translation. So even if you don't know what you're talking about, you can create a presentation that speaks to what you're talking about. And so what you can do here too is you can change the theme in real time, which is really cool. So if you want to go to a lighter theme, boom, automatically changes it. You can, for this image, you can click on surprise me, or you can click on edit accent image. So if you click on surprise me, it'll give you a new image. Typically, so the thing I found about this is it'll generate the new image based on the new theme. So if you change it back, is this the one I had? I can't remember, but anyways, so be careful about regenerating these, because it'll give you more of generic kind of, as opposed.
Yeah, that's one of the limitations I found was
the
images built in or that it created were very limited.
Yeah, and so like you can always add your own, I think, but yeah, at least, so this is what I like. The biggest thing I like about this is it gives you the structure. All you have to do is make changes, make small edits. Like you can do whatever you want, but it gives you the layout, the structure, which is what I love. That's the cool thing about it.
Yeah, and I found this was okay. I've tried a couple of things. You built a web page here, so that's interesting.
No, this is a presentation.
Oh, it's a presentation. I built a web page previously, but if you want to create a site, go ahead, create a site for something.
Yeah, let's try this. Create a consultant.
So I found this tool. Keep doing it while I'm talking. I found this be interesting. I created, like I said, a couple decks. We'll kind of go through them in a minute, and it's not bad. Like it solves the blank page syndrome where you don't know where to put graphics, you don't know where to do certain things. And if you could add your brand kit, it could probably be useful from creating things in a color scheme that actually you don't have to go and change everything, because that random themes are great, but I want my red and I want it this way and I want my logo and I want, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you can put a brand kit in there, which I haven't really checked out, but I assume you can if you subscribe.
Yeah. So here we go. as it
So what was
relates.
the prompt?
So the prompt was create a it's a consulting offering Canadian government funding services.
All right, so let's look at it.
So let's welcome providing expert guidance and assistance in accessing Canadian. So because I put Canadian, I wanted to do Canadian to see if it would come with specific Canadian content, but it didn't. It's just using the word Canadian. So that's something to learn about. So obviously it's about us. Here's our mission, consulting services, grant applications, strategic planning. That's pretty cool. Federal programs, provincial programs. Okay. Industry specific. Wow. Financial thresholds, compliance regulations. The thing I like about this is what it's doing is it's actually generating the content as opposed to the Latin placeholders that they put.
Yeah, get rid of ipsum libsum.
Ipsum libsum, yeah. So how we can help, and then success stories, contact us. So this is I'll have to dive more into this. You can add another page. You can even publish this site from here. Really, really cool.
Definitely interesting. And the fact that you can generate it and just change your themes up on the fly just to see what it looks like. And again, maybe you want to be careful when putting customized pictures in there when you're changing your themes, because it might change those pictures up for you. But
yeah. And then on the side here, just to get into a little bit more details, you have card templates, so you can add a card template. So add funnel with text. Oh wait, you gotta drag it. Yeah. So here we go. Obviously, I don't want that there, so delete that. And again, yeah, I haven't really messed around with the website stuff, but you have different layout templates that you can use.
It looks pretty impressive.
Yeah, but you were saying what you like better. What do you like better?
Wow. Let me.
Do you want me to stop sharing here?
Well, I'm gonna get my stuff ready here while we're sharing screen. I was gonna say I like this, but I use Canva. So I'm just trying to jump to my Canva window. Which one is this? No, here we go. This one. I use it for a lot of things, and you can use it for this type of stuff too. And I didn't even type in anything. I just said startup. I think I just said pitch deck.
Okay.
And like there was a bunch it came up with.
Yeah.
So as you can't. I'm switching screens and you can't see it. So yeah.
Is this Canva? This is Canva that you're using here?
Yeah, this is Canva.
Okay.
And so it's you can add any one of these slides. Okay, I want to add this one and add this one.
It looks a little bit more extensive than what Gamma.app is generating, but I'm curious as to how much work it took to get to this.
Oh, none. Oh. Zero. Let me, since I'm sharing this.
So they have their own generative.
So here it is, right?
Yeah.
So I just go pitch deck. It's not their own generative. They have all these templates.
Oh, it's a template. Okay.
So say, all right, I got this TV and film pitch deck. I want to pitch my TV and film. So let me grab this one and say, okay, this looks good. Going to customize it. And there's usually an add all button. So the slide's now creative. I can just go in and change things.
Cool. You know what? People keep telling me to use Canva, and I'm gonna have to start looking at it now.
Now, the real super secret to Canva,
yeah,
maybe not necessarily for everybody, is this bulk create tool. The bulk create tool allows you to do all sorts of stuff. And that's why I was saying to you, is I'm going to create 3 or 4 startup templates.
Yeah.
And I can go into, once I create them, I can go into the bulk create tool and say where it says shattered illusions here. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're still not. I'm going through stuff and you're still not seeing what I'm seeing.
No, I'm not. No. Yeah.
Okay. I see. It opened it in a new window rather than the same window.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Let me see if I can.
I was just, yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
I added this pitch deck and yeah, I'm used to it showing me anyway, sorry about that. But you could go through this. So it created this automatically, added this. So, I got a 12 thing pitch deck for this is for movie and film. So it's different than for startup. But I can go through and say, okay, this will be title 1, and that'll be title 2.
Yeah.
And that'll be title 3. And we could do content 1, content 2, whatever. Same thing like with those charts you had.
Yeah.
And then I'll go into the bulk create tool and enter manually, and I can put up here title 1, title 2, content 1, content 2, and fill this out. Go over to ChatGTP and say, here are my slide formats. Here's what I want. I want a title and 3 bullet points, for this, and cut and paste it in like in minutes. Once I've got the thing, I could have it all filled out.
Cool.
So with a little bit of automation, I'm not sure how many people want to build hundreds of pitch decks or whatever. So maybe that they don't necessarily need that.
Yeah.
But since we are here, let me share a different screen. I want to present. Let's do this. So I created a couple of slide decks earlier. Just wanted to go through them. This one was, hey, produce a presentation, like a sponsorship presentation for a Shark Tank like event, but call it Sports Tank for sports tech. And it did the rest, right? And this is actually a PPT that I downloaded from it. So it's okay.
Yeah.
But I found, when I wanted to go through this, okay, so let's just say I'm pitching this to MLC. I want to have, and this is kind of what the example I wanted to use, is I wanted to have put the Leafs in here.
Yeah.
But if you look closely, this isn't the Leafs because they didn't have any Leaf pictures of the Leafs.
No, it's not. I don't even know what those are.
But I guarantee you, if I was pitching this to MLSC, they would know that that's not their team up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all I'm saying is that I'd have to go out to third parties. And some of these tech are good. This I guess is a shark in a tank because this is when it said Shark Tank. So you have to kind of take a look at it from an AI point of view and go through it. But it's a great place to start.
Yeah.
Let me switch to this one. This one was the second presentation. Again, I just put in I made a note of give me 1 second, of the prompt I made for this presentation, just so people can understand a couple of options. This was, paste it in here. Pitch deck for startup that sells customized stuffed toys for adult geeks.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Welcome to the Geeky Plushies. Here's our market analysis.
Yeah.
Here's our product offering.
Oh, cool.
Here's our target audience.
Yeah. It's pretty basic, but
you say that, but it's actually not bad.
So the reason why I should take it back, but it gives, so when you're pitching to people, they don't want tons of written text. So this is actually pretty good as to what it generates for sure.
And you probably get to use 50% of it, and then you cut and paste other stuff that you want. We're running over, so I'm not going to go through the website that I kind of just had it do, but it's interesting. It's very interesting. It does a lot, and I think it's cool for people. I don't know how many tokens I've used already.
Well, you can always just create a new account.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to be creating hundreds, but if you're actively using it, it looks cool. There are other tools out there. Canva's introducing an AI bit, so I could probably type in create, and it would fill in some of that stuff, but I'm not 100% sure how that would work. It does a decent job of doing videos. Hey, create a promo video for this, and it asks me for pictures, and I upload pictures like from an event, and it'll.
Cool.
So interesting stuff. I know you gotta go. Is there anything you want to promote before we gotta go?
Next week, roundtable at Content Creator Club on the 21st. And then there's this new thing, Women Innovation Summit on March 7th, which is going to be cool. So we can talk about that later. I'm going to be also judging next weekend the Future Business Leaders of America, which is really cool. So, and then on the 29th, I'll be attending Startup Drinks.
Yeah, Startup Drinks, February 29th. Grab your tickets, startupdrinksto.com. Check everything else out at torontostarts.com. I know we're running late. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Appreciate you being here. And thanks, John, for taking your time out of your busy week.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks, Craig. Take care.